Footy Interchange. This is the special edition, the extra podcast, just for your listening pleasure, to go through all the correspondence that we get here on the Footy Interchange. It's been great to have so much coming through. Mostly people sending through on X, but however you want to get in touch with us, please do so, because we'd like to address your questions each and every week, rather than in the main podcast, so we can actually chat through them properly. Schoey, what do you got? Social media on BackChat that you roll through?
Mate, I think this would make for a too long a podcast if I could go through all the areas that people can send stuff in. But rest assured, if you put it on YouTube, if you put it across social media and Instagram and X on any of the shows, and it's a good question, we can answer it here as well. I think it's actually a nice little initiative from you, Adam Papalia.
I like the fact how every time you say the term social media to any of your guests on BackChat, you laugh every time. And the fact that you call it social media.
It's brilliant.
I was going to go with maybe the Papsarazzi for the social media feedback.
Holy shit.
But I think we're going to go with the Footy Interchange Exchange.
Okay.
Which is where
it's
we're
disappointing.
going with. Yeah, sorry about that. I'm a little bit more straight down the line than you. The Footy Interchange Exchange for now. We'll see. Listener feedback
Someone
will
will send in a better
send us
name,
send
and
us a
it'll
name.
be adopted, because Paps won't like it, and that's what we're using.
That's probably true. Jono from Forest Beach kicks us off. Says, morning, after driving up for the footy yesterday, Forest Beach down in the southwest, just a bit north of where you can find shelter, he says, here's my suggestion for a discussion topic for your podcast. The Dockers umpiring was atrociously biased. I've never been so aggrieved by a game's umpiring than that. Maybe it's time the AFL made all umpires professionals, field, goal and off-field umps, pay them accordingly and allow for full-time training. This would also reduce the risk of corruption coming into the game via bribes or even by a job-based incentive from the ump's second job. Schoey.
I find this a great suggestion. I don't know why they aren't full-time. Why are they not full-time?
Well, I don't think there's enough for them to do to be full-time, is there? I think.
How about do your job
the cost of it as well.
Do you think that they would do their job better if they were full-time? That's probably the question.
I don't know if they do.
Well, we don't know,
really?
because there's not enough of them full-time. I think some of them may be full-time and very, bare minimum. So if there's not enough of them, if there's not enough for them to do, I don't know if that's right. Have them train other umpires. Have them train with AFL clubs. Have them be more interactive. Have them do media. Make them more a part of the game. I like it from Jono, because I agree. Umpiring was disgraceful against
I think generally the umpires have said they don't need to be full-time to be able to do the job they're doing at the moment. From umpires I've heard speak before. The bias stuff, like, I can't cop that though from Jono. Like, there's no umpire out there that is biased.
Not deliberate bias.
No,
but
it just doesn't happen. Like, there is no umpire that is biased from one team to another.
No, I mean, bias is the wrong word, but you can have a skew of umpiring decisions to go one team's way.
Yeah, but
we've seen that.
It doesn't have to be even, though, in a game.
No, it doesn't.
You pay the ones that are there.
Yeah, well,
and if your team's infringing more than the other team, then that's a free kick out.
Just go across every game of every weekend, and you can see the games that it's been poorly umpired. That was poorly umpired on the weekend. You can't, like, I don't buy into we've got to support and be positive about umpires 24/7. And if you have full-time umpires, more of them, it will allow them to train other umpires, and it will make them better. I guarantee it will. If they're not focusing on the umpiring, doing a better job, I don't understand how that wouldn't be a good thing for the game.
I think the issue
it's a hard job.
The issue is the rules, not the umpires. It's the rules that they have to try to adjudicate, which I think are poorly written and frustrate footy fans no end, particularly holding the ball.
Fair.
But the actual stats in terms of if your team gets more free kicks than the other team or doesn't, that just purely goes down to the game. There's no conspiracy out there against your team, even though Adelaide would probably feel like that's not the case at the moment. But it just doesn't happen.
No.
AFL umpires have more integrity than that, and they call it as they see it.
I agree with that.
Chris says, 4 games of footy on Optus Stadium this year, and already it's getting ripped up and sand flying with every footstep. How's it going to look after a bit of rain? Why can't they get it right?
I am far from a green grass expert, perhaps.
Should see my front lawn.
Mate,
atrocious.
I'll talk about disgraceful. My lawn is an absolute disgrace, and the owners of the houses we rent would be very disappointed, because I believe they are in that industry. So they'll be disappointed with me, both professionally and personally. And I don't know. Look, I don't know. It doesn't look that bad to me. It looks better than it's looked in previous
I actually
years.
think it's the best it's played for years,
Yep.
given the amount of work they've done on it. We'll have to wait and see when we do get a bit of wet weather, but I'm keeping faith right now that it is actually in better standard than we've seen before.
Yep, I agree.
We've done a lot of work on it. Tonga Bob, regular listener of the pod, says, it seems like the Rising Star body of work question is still pending. The threshold is currently 5 rounds and counting. Should we run a sweep on which round it kicks in? I'm going for 7. Which round are you fellas choosing? This is Tonga Bob talking clearly about Murphy Reid not getting a Rising Star nomination.
Well, what do you think? Because I think he's been good enough to get one. So what do
He
you
absolutely should have got one
Right.
already. He should have got one in round 1.
So why hasn't he?
Rather than Sam Lawler, because he kicked 4 goals in 6 minutes.
Right.
Because they've gone with some other players, obviously, through the first few
Why?
rounds.
But why?
I don't know. They've had some good performances. I don't think they've been stellar, but
Who was the Rising Star this week?
Murphy Reid's had a heap.
Sorry.
Levi Ashcroft.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah,
From
well,
Brisbane. Who's been good.
Yeah. No, he hasn't been that good.
But Murphy Reid has been very good.
Yep.
And should have got a Rising Star.
Next
already.
week.
So Tonga
I'm
Bob
going week 5. Gather round.
Gather rounds. So Tonga Bob's going round 7. I'll go round 6 just to be in between. Alex says, actually, with Murphy Reid, some of the stuff he was doing, his creativity is phenomenal for a player of his age.
That trade with Richmond's looking pretty good. I'm pretty sure they got Shea Bolton, Murphy Reid, plus a future pick. And in exchange, it's 3 good young players at Richmond. But Murphy Reid and Shea Bolton looking pretty good from Freo's side of things.
Very good. Alex says, hey guys, is not enough attention being paid to Freo's schedule? 5 weeks of day games and 30-plus degree temperatures, whereas some clubs have only played night games. Surely this takes a far greater physical toll.
The only problem there, Alex, is like the sides they've been playing have performed well in those games as well. I don't know. Like
He's talking about the cumulative effect across 4 rounds and
I
injuries that they picked up on the weekend.
Personally, wouldn't read too much into that. I think everyone's playing a pretty physical and taxing game, and I don't think that makes a big effect on things.
Jesse Sutton says, in your view as a defender, Will, what are the things you would want to see West Coast midfielders do more to support, apart from the obvious winning the ball in the contest? Is it immediate pressure on the ball carrier, more transition running, or something else entirely?
Look, West Coast midfielders need to put more pressure on the ball carrier. That's all you ask for as a defender, or as a bare minimum. You just can't have a period of 5 minutes in a game where you don't get a touch. So if you're not going to get a touch, at least be putting a touch on the opposition. And GW West on the weekend just did as they please. And I felt sorry for the West Coast backline. So if you're a West Coast defender, you're just pleading with your midfielders to put some sort of pressure on it, to kick over hands, to kick off balance, to feel at least like they're under pressure and they can't just run out and deliver inside balls with no pressure whatsoever. That is a bare minimum requirement in the AFL, but on any level of football. You need to apply pressure as a midfielder if you don't have the footy.
Another Chris says, heard a few mention that Sandy Brock is athletic and speedy and could be offensive in defence. So wondering why Edwards and Brock can't play in the same team. If Harry Edwards is locked down and Brock can try and play the Jeremy McGovern role, it's pretty similar to what Eliza Reilly said to us on the podcast as well.
Positive for West Coast is Harley Reid, which we spoke about, and he liked Tom Gross. I liked Tom Gross.
Gross?
Sorry, thank you. Look, his nickname's Gross. Well, it's not, but I can say good with that. Mate, he looks great, and it's by an eye test for him. But in his debut game, I thought he was pretty good. Look, I don't know how many times I can say this. It's an absolute no-brainer and a complete coaching mistake to not play Harry Edwards and Sandy Brock. And if they don't do it against Carlton, there needs to be some really serious questions asked, which I don't think gets asked enough in the media either. Like, you can't just give it a free pass. Oh, they're no good, new coach. And, that they should be held more accountable to those sorts of decisions, because that was clearly the wrong one. Clearly.
Ryan says, is there too much sensationalism in footy media right now? Seems to be a lack of actual game-based analysis with a hyperfixation on minor things like Petrarca throwing his mouthguard or Thilthorpe and Mac Andrew post-game.
I mean, you're always just looking for a story if you're in the media. So yeah. I think it is relevant with Christian Petrarca, given he's back, off-season and pre-season last year.
I didn't have a problem with that. I like him showing his frustration at the end of a game. Don't you want to see your players caring for what's happening out there?
I fall into Jordan Lewis's analysis on this one.
Really? I thought you'd be the other way.
No. No, not on the. You can do it behind closed doors, but if you're out in public, he knows the cameras are on him. I think that was a bit of a. As much as I don't love to sort of say this, I think that was a bit of look at me moment. You need to be stronger to hold it together. That's not a don't show emotion, but
I'm the other way. I like seeing that passion. Like if you lose a game, you should be filthy that you lost the game.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, like I like that more than having a joke around.
Yeah.
But I don't like the joking around either.
No.
Again, a lot of my views are based on my own playing career and what got the best out of me and what I was sort of exposed to from leadership point of view and other players. And it was always drilled into us, like, get off, after a loss, get off the field and we can talk about it inside.
There's quite a lot of West Coast feedback coming through, probably as expected. Daniel says, regardless of where the list stands, is the Eagles' new game plan, which they can't seem to execute, based on the chaos of Richmond 4 or 5 years ago, now a mistake, given it is smooth ball movement that dominates the league?
Maybe. I don't know what the game plan is. Like, can you see a game plan?
Not a specific one, because they haven't been able to do it or control the footy enough to do it, I don't think.
Yeah, I would challenge anyone watching West Coast to tell me what the game plan is, because they've had lack of execution from the players, and it's whatever they're trying to do is new, but there's no distinguishable pattern that I can see that's that's going to define them, which I think is probably disappointing.
Colloquial on X says, Will said he thinks Oscar is leaving. Can he elaborate? Are the terms that far apart, i.e. are the Eagles offering 3 years v Brisbane at 6 years or something like that?
I mean, something that as a player that I always wanted, and I'll talk about again, I'm just going to keep referring back to what I know, is I always wanted to feel like I was not loved but wanted, whether that be in the team or at contract time or in media messaging, or basically any sorts of interactions with a footy club. You want to feel like you're wanted. And if you don't feel like that, you either get traded, hang the boots up, or find yourself out of the side, because you just, that was me. If I, and sometimes that's your own fault, right? That's not everyone's fault to just, make you feel like you wanted. But like, I don't think anyone could listen to me now and think about your own environment, whether it be at work or at home or whatever, and you not want to feel wanted. So if you don't feel that, and especially if you're captain and one of the best players at the club, you don't feel wanted, I think you're out the door. So, yeah, I think Oscar's going to leave if that's how he feels.
But it goes to the other point, which has been argued a fair bit, as to whether the club wants Oscar as well. And Stefan says, would you take a top 5 pick for Oscar Allen? Yes, he's a captain. It might look bad, but let's be honest, the club needs high-end picks. There's not a lot of other commodities to trade. And as a free agent or restricted free agent for Oscar Allen, if he was to leave, you'd think the compensation would be somewhere within a top 5 pick.
Yeah. So is that what he's worth? I don't think he's worth less than that. And again, it's just
taking into consideration the age of the player and how much they get paid by the team that they go to.
Right. I think there should be an element, and I know they don't, but in terms of the importance both to the club he's leaving and the importance of the team he's going to, I think there'd be a way to do that, because we've seen players in the past. Ben Mackay springs to mind. They got a really high pick for him at the time when he left North Melbourne and he went to Essendon. Is he the number one important player at Essendon? I don't think he is, but they were given like pick 2 or 3 North Melbourne. Sorry. So I think definite top 5 pick at a minimum.
Chris Walker says Oscar Allen, so many facets to it. Totally get his side on West Coast in terms of no long contract. They'd be smashed if they offered him a long contract, and now getting it. But how could the club have handled it better? They didn't create this mess. Fans wanted answers. He's so confused right now.
Who didn't create the mess? The club?
Well,
that's what that says.
Not in that.
How could the club have handled it better? They didn't create this mess.
The mess.
They certainly did.
Well, in some ways.
No. The club has created it. Whether or not they wanted to or not is the question.
Yeah.
They created it.
By keeping this in limbo.
If the contract is signed by Oscar Allen, he's not meeting with anybody.
Yeah.
That is not player driven. The club has created this.
So they're not completely absolved of it, because they've let it get to this point where he's gone to have a chat to other clubs.
Not only are they not completely absolved from it, they are directly responsible for it. You are responsible for your players' contracts.
Yeah.
And if they offer the same amount of money as other clubs, then Oscar will sign, I'm sure. Now, Whether or not that's knee related or player want related or whatever it is.
Or what the club wants out of it.
Yeah, that's to do with the club. Don't be confused here. This isn't an Oscar Allen issue. This is a West Coast issue. But maybe they want it. Like maybe they want this to be an issue. But that's not up for question whose fault this is.
A high pick in. T-Pay says, are West Coast collapsing in its stoppages, allowing oppositions to get on the outside and transition too easily? Who is responsible for the stoppage midfield work? At the moment, it looks like all bees to the honeypot with no structure on the outside.
Well, who's in control of it? I mean, responsible and who's responsible of executing? The players are responsible of executing. I don't know what the plan is, but Luke Schoey is the stoppage coach in there with Jared Schofield in charge of the midfield. So those two coaches are running it. The players are executing it. And I don't think collapsing in is the right word, but certainly expansion out, sort of getting outside the contest. They're not working hard enough. That's what I look at. So a couple of players asked about that, and specifically Captain Liam Duggan said he can't question the effort. I think you can. That's as basic as it is. I think you can. Yeah.
Is that purely like chasing? Is it?
It's actually
pressure,
the moment.
Is it?
No, it's actually the moment. It's a mental reaction to it's leaving the contest. I've got to get going.
Yep.
Quickly. All teams do it. Better sides do it better than poor sides.
West Aussie 67 says, rookies will not perform well if they see their veterans getting smacked week in and out all season, and poor form from leaders sucks confidence from you to trust your instincts. Has bad trading 4 years caused this problem now? They need to buy 3 Tier 1 mids ASAP or the decade is lost. Presuming this is talking about West Coast.
I don't know the answer to that, but I did look at the list that played on the weekend against a GWS side who's one of the best in the comp. The list that played, like the 22 plus sub, is pretty poor. It's pretty bad. Like, forget about senior players playing well or not playing well. Take away McGovern, Yo, Sheed. Like, they're 3 senior players that would be playing. There's not much underneath it. And it was a very young and inexperienced and side that couldn't perform. So I don't know if that answers it, but it was pretty bad.
Mr. Chitafa on X says, with Nathan O'Driscoll out, Wagner out, Jager O'Meara sore, does Erasmus finally get a crack at playing more than one game, or will they use the excuse of him being the non-playing emergency last week for not playing this week?
Yeah, like he's sort of in the same basket as Will Brodie, who had over 30 touches for Peel on the weekend. I don't know what Erasmus did. Oh, so he didn't play, right?
Yeah.
Will Brodie had 35, I think, in a win for Peel.
He's had 35 each week for the last 12
he does that forever.
months.
Erasmus won the medal. Am I making that up? In the grand final last year. He played a really good game. So, yeah. I mean, I'll watch this one. Hayden Young will come back into this midfield for starters. They'll have to fix their wing up. So I don't know who they'll have play there. James Aish has played there in the past.
Yeah, he's on the outer at the moment.
Yeah, so like Jager O'Meara has played there in the past. I think their midfield rotation is sort of a bit strange at times. Like they have Sarong and Brayshaw by the looks of it almost in the same mid-rotation, which to me means that your 2 best players are on more limited minutes, although Sarong played every minute of the last quarter. So their midfield mix is an ongoing thing, and it's another player that we haven't mentioned is Nat Fyfe. Where does he fit into it? I don't know.
Yeah, true. Whether he'll be right to go with that knee soreness that he's been battling.
Nick Rinn
I'm not sure we need to do we need to
No,
this
we need to do it, absolutely. That's enough from you, Papalia. Nick Rinn, a great member of the media over here in Western Australia, asking the big and best questions.
Hard-hitting questions.
Where does Adam Papalia's beard sit in top 5 football media beards? So he's already got you in the top 5.
Well, that's good. That's good.
So you can answer that.
And
how much time do you spend on those sort of rankings?
Very little, to be honest.
Be honest to the audience.
What?
Or you
ranking
don't spend
beards?
any time on thinking about your beard?
No, not really. Not really.
No,
it's
you
more to
don't.
cover up most of my face, to be
Right.
honest. Well, you've got a beard as well.
Yeah, that's not.
So-
I don't see anything about Will Schofield.
Who else has got a beard in the media?
Does Mark Rasciuto qualify? He's got a bit of growth.
Goatee?
Bit of
More
growth.
the
No, I think
goatee?
he's moved on from the goatee. I think he's got a bit more of a growth. Yeah, look, I don't know. So you'd have to be in the top 5.
Put it out to the listeners.
Is it
then.
you or me head to head?
Maybe.
Is that
Maybe.
what it is?
I just love some. I don't know. Are we still running it on Fox? That photo of you when you had like the super long beard. It's like
Disappointing. That was from
down
like
to here.
2017 as well.
Yeah,
They've
a
taken the
long
serial
time ago.
killer Schofield off. All right, so let us know either in the comments here or somewhere else if you can think of other media types with beards.
In the media. Rex Hunt was famous for having a beard when he was a caller. But yeah, if you can nominate a few others, that's fine.
We got you at one, unless you can beat
so
at the moment.
Please find someone to beat me. And last question. Phil Carroll says, while Nick was being cheeky, here's a cheeky one from Phil. He says, why does Will Schofield hate the West Coast Eagles so much? Is it purely because he didn't get a lap of Optus after he retired, or is there other underlying issues?
I can't do this. Every week. I don't like them because they're no good. And there seems to be a lot of underlying issues that I really get frustrated by. One of those being myself, Chris Marston, and Lewis Jetta haven't had a lap of honour. Then give me a lap of honour. It's too late now.
It's not too late. We can get the campaign going.
It's too late.
The ironic thing is you've got a access pass which would allow you to literally just
give myself
do your own lap and just walk around the ground as you want to, just giving it the Queen's wave.
Can we work this into a bet somehow? Because I'm happy to work it in somehow that me, Jets and Masto just walk our own lap.
Just do it.
Don't tell anyone.
No, just start walking around. Just get the crowd behind
all the kids out there. Yeah, well, look, it was during an interesting time of COVID and lots of other things going on when I retired. Same as Jets and Masto. But yeah, no, that is right, Phil. I have not had a lap of honour, and everyone else gets one.
I reckon if you did it at the 9-minute mark of the first quarter, people would get behind it.
West Coast know about it. I will say that. So
let's wait and see.
Yep.
What happens.
Maybe I'll stop the vitriol when I get my lap.
All right, listeners, fair few things for you to address there. Send them through to us however you can on the comments on YouTube. If you're watching along, send us some feedback on X as well. But great to have people part of this podcast. Want to keep it going so each and every week. And wider still rather than just WA. I know Schoey and I are based in Western Australia, but a bit wider and looking at some other teams would be great as well. Thanks, Schoey.
Thank you, mate. You've done exceptionally well as always, and I look forward to giving you a debrief on the gather-round.
Thank you. That was the Footy Interchange Exchange.